Good in Body, Mind and Soul show. I'm your host, Isa-Welly. I'm a registered nutritional therapist and a wellbeing coach, and I'm here to bring you tips, tools, and conversations around nutrition, wellbeing, mindset to help you feel good in body, mind, and soul. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast. I am very excited today because our guest is a fabulous person. Like when I say fabulous, I mean it. I'm actually a huge fan. So the fact that she said yes to coming to my podcast, I'm like, really? So I've literally manifested this. I kid you not. But anyway, Victoria Jackson is a manifestation coach. She's an incredible woman. She's done so much. She's a podcast host. She's an author. She's a clinical hypnotherapist. I mean, she's pretty insane. I'm not going to go into her whole CV right now because it's quite long, and I'm sure she'll tell us a little bit about herself. But I come across her online. And I immediately, within the same day, she recorded, I was listening to a podcast of her with a business coach I used to work with, Laura Agar, and I connected straight away with her. And I think that same day, I went on her website, I stalked, and maybe within a week, I was in the membership. She has this amazing membership. And anyway, she's incredible. I hope you enjoy this episode. We're going to talk about manifestation, health challenges she had this year, and a little bit of everything, life really. So Miss Victoria Jackson, welcome to my podcast, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Can you just do the intro to everything I ever do, please? It's just so lovely. But the feeling's so mutual, because I remember when you came in the membership, and even when you asked me to be on the podcast, and I was thinking, did she really meet me? Did she really mean to join this membership? And I was just like, mutual love for each other.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to have a little chat with me. How are you today anyway? Like, how are you? How's your day so far? What's happening?
Yeah, very good actually. It's a week today that my book launches. So I don't know when this is going to come out, but it's the 24th of November at the moment. My book comes out in a week today. So I'm kind of in that energy of just prep mode. I'm just really cementing myself to prepare for the week that is coming. So yeah, I feel really good. And yeah, apart from just being freezing, but I'm in the north of England, so that's fully expected.
I mean, same here in London. Is pretty cold as well, to be honest. I'm so excited about your book. By the time this podcast is out in January, the book will be out. I've pre-ordered mine. I'm like eager. I'm like, come on now, get me that book real quick. But you must be so excited. And I think I remember you saying that this is something you sort of manifested, dreamt about, was on your vision boards, and something you really wanted. And just so when I saw that you were writing a book, I think you shared that with us last month or maybe a little earlier. I was like, oh my God, like good for her. Good for it's just, it must be such an amazing feeling, no?
Oh, amazing. And I mean, we'll speak a little bit about the book later on, but the fact is that I wrote a status on Facebook. Like, I love the social media that you can go back and look what you wrote. And in 2017, I put a status on and I said, I'm just throwing it out to the universe that I will sign a book deal. Like, I will have a book deal. And that was in 2017. And then 2021 comes, and the team at Octopus Books just reached out to me and said, would you like to write a book on manifestation, for beginners? And I was like, yes, because I manifested this. Like,
oh my God,
this
yes.
Proof in the pudding. But yeah, so it's just been the most surreal, amazing experience ever.
Yeah. And so well deserved, because you know what? I've been in your, I mean, I love manifestation, of course, and it's something I believe in, me personally. And we're going to go into that in a minute when we really start with the question. But I just think it's something you can always work on. And I remember being in your membership and thinking, God, she's got so much. I felt like you had so much tips and little things that could just help improve the day, help, when you have a bill or something really bad, and change the perspective. And these are the things that are real. We're still manifesting, but we have real tangible tools. And that's what I love about your approach to manifestation, and what I loved, like, when I was in the membership. So I was in her membership until until towards the end of my pregnancy, and I was like, I'm gonna switch off, I could just get in my zone. But anyway, listen, let's get into it. My very first question for you, because this is something I see a lot online, right? You have those people who are hardcore manifestation fans, and some people make it a really sounds like airy fairy. And you have those people who are really skeptical and they're like, this is absolutely bullshit. This is for privileged people that think X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. And there is to a certain extent, I understand the privilege side of things. If you're born in a country or somewhere in a really bad position, I'm sure you're not thinking manifestation in that sense. Yes, I completely agree. But sometimes when people say it's complete BS, I'm like, yeah, but have you tried? What do you think? And what do you say to these people? What do you think?
For me, I was that person that thought it was a load of BS. So I always come to people
Were
and say,
you?
oh, 100%. So I discovered the law of attraction manifestation back in 2015. And it's really hard for people to imagine this now from the way that I act in my energy now, but I was a really negative, cynical person. And I was just in a stage of my life where I was overworked, stressed, playing a tiny violin. I was in total victim mode of every day that I woke up. Why was everything happening to me? And I discovered this book called The Secret. I have mixed feelings about that book. But anyway, so I read the book. At first I thought, this is an absolute load of crap. I don't believe how this can be true. And it's so weird now because my whole life is based around manifestation. And anyway, I listened to it again. I had it on Audible. And it took the third time to listen for something. I remember driving and something just clicked. And I thought, hang on, I get to control what I think. I get to control how I wake up and what I choose to think. Nobody else has that control over me. And if I'm going to wake up every single morning and think, what is the worst thing that's going to happen today? Why am I doing this? And all those negative thoughts, I thought, of course, I'm going to start noticing and experiencing just a really crap day. So the biggest thing for me was to start looking at gratitude. That was the biggest I was like, okay, if one change that I'm going to make is to start focusing on everything that's going right in life for me and all the small things. I had great friendships, and even though I had a job that towards the end I didn't really enjoy being in, I still had a regular wage coming in. That's what the little snippets of gratitude that I would take. And anyway, I just I've got that personality where if I find something that I like or enjoy, I dive straight in. If I find an influencer that I like, I look at all the content. Look at you listen to all the podcasts at once. So I just dove straight in and just started to learn about this concept of the law of attraction, and that like attracts like. And then I started to look at other universal laws, and the law of rhythm, that we're in a cycle and the seasons come and pass, and the law of relativity, that there's no good or bad, it's just perceptive. It's your own perception, everything's kind of neutral. And I thought, well, I do believe in those because they're kind of working in everyday life for me. So maybe this law of attraction, this kind of the energy you put out is energy you receive back, maybe that's something that I can integrate into daily life. And it took, I would say, probably about 2 years of just studying, reading, experimenting, doing little experimentations and stuff, to then start to think, hang on, I truly believe in this. I truly believe that there is a higher power. I don't know if I would say I'm religious as such, but I'm certainly spiritual, and I believe that there's a higher source out there that's guiding me, that's helping me to co-create my life. And so when people come to me and say, I think it's a load of crap, I'm like, I was that way too. And I found that when I stepped into the world of manifestation, you see all these kind of coaches, and primarily in America, because it was such a huge thing over in America, that they were manifesting these mansions in these $1 million businesses and supercars. And I was like, okay, I'm just Vicky from Leeds, north of England, from a working class family. I want to make manifestation work for me, and to bring more joy into everyday life, to teach things like how to lean more into gratitude, and the boomerang effect. I always talk about what we put out, goodness, we will receive goodness back. How can we help people? And that was the reason why I created the whole manifestation collective, because I really wanted people to see that this concept of, you know, positive thinking and how we can co-create our own reality doesn't have to be surrounded by huge amounts of wealth or, you know,
Yeah.
mansions and
Yeah.
designer handbags.
Yeah.
It can be creating a life that just truly feels good to us rather than what looks
Amen.
good on social media.
Yeah, amen. I'm such a huge believer of that. Honestly, like for me, that's what manifestation is. It's like a conscious creation of my day-to-day life, of course bigger dreams as well. And but for me, it's waking up exactly as you said. And you know what? Gratitude is one that I think a lot of us forget often. And I've been there so many times where I'm like, okay, I just feel like at the moment I'm not, don't know, receiving as much. I don't feel as abundant as I used to. And abundance is not necessarily just money, but it could be just someone is giving me a smile in the street. The coffee guy is like, oh, have the coffee for free. Just little things like that sometimes show up in your life. You're like, oh, I'm having a really good week. But really, it's because you maybe have woken up and just be like, thank you today for this. Thank you for that. And sometimes we forget, and I forget that a lot sometimes. I'm grateful in general, but I think affirming it and saying it out loud every morning, every night, or whenever it is for people, you know, it makes such a huge freaking difference in our lives, you know. And I think that's where it kind of really starts, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, even when you say about when you might go in and the coffee guy's like, oh, you can have this free today. And it's that energy that you're in. So if you wake up and you're in kind of like a negative energy, if you just feel like crap on a morning and you start to see kind of things snowball and you're just like, well, this is proof I knew I shouldn't have got out of bed
Yeah.
today. And then sometimes you might wake up and, you know, when you go to a party, I always say this, but you can, energy is magnetic and we can sense if there's somebody in that party that is such a good energy, they're like the life and soul, you are magnetized to that person. Like you can feel a shift in energy when you walk into a room.
Mm.
You know, like I've worked with, if we look at toxic work environments, I've worked with people before where you actually feel the energy, you can cut it with a knife, you know, it's so strong when you work in
Yeah.
that negative energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how, you know, I try and describe it to people when I
Yeah.
say, you know, the energy that we put out there is the energy that we attract and magnetize.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I actually, it's something you can see as well. And you might be able to relate because our work, though completely different, it's still, you attract energetically, we attract certain type of clients and people. And I know at some point last year, yeah, before I got pregnant, when I was doing my one-on-one nutrition, at some point I was really like, I don't know why I'm attracting a certain type of clients that just can't be bothered to actually, you paying me this money and you can't be bothered to show up and do your thing. And you know, if I'm being completely transparent, I couldn't be bothered. I was looking back and I was like, I can't be bothered. I was tired. No, actually, no, actually, sorry. That I was already pregnant. It was the beginning of my pregnancy. I was
Yeah.
exhausted, absolutely exhausted. I didn't even know I was pregnant. And I was actually in your membership. And we may have even had a call. And I was like, I just can't be bothered. My energy is funky. I'm attracting these people. I don't want to. And it was my energy. I couldn't be bothered. I was attracting people that I could not be bothered to do the work. And it's something you can so see even in our work, in our everyday lives. And it's just so powerful. Hence why I always tell people, like, be responsible for your own energy. Like, I'm very much about that. I'm like, if I feel crap, I do not expect people to feel amazing around me. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm responsible. I try to sort myself out in the morning, have a lot of routine to get my energy like straight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, be responsible for how you're showing up. I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the thing that trigger people that think manifestation in BS? Like, what triggers? Because I always thought, what is triggering you in this? Is it like, what triggers people when, you know, you'll say, oh my God, let's manifest this. And some people just get so triggered. What do you think it is?
I think it's because this. I don't want to blame TikTok and social media, but there's this kind of narrative that if you ask for something, it'll be delivered. And
Mm,
that is not how, you know, obviously, sometimes you can manifest things and they come out of the blue and it's like, wow, I'm so grateful for this. It's amazing. But life isn't about just clicking your fingers and expecting everything to fall on your doorstep. I
Yeah.
believe that life is a journey that we're meant to experience different things. We're meant to, experience different lessons and see
Yeah.
different blessings, and really have this journey where we come to a point where things, come into our lives, but we might not have been able to we get them straight away, and we might have had to put the action in, to meet the universe halfway. And
Yeah.
I've spoken to friends before, and they're like, well, I'm just going to say to the universe, I want £1 million on my doorstep. And I'm like, but that's not how
It
manifestation
works.
works.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's about
Yeah.
co-creating your life and
Yeah.
taking the action. Okay, so if you want £1 million, let's talk about what do you actually want that money for. For
Yeah.
most people, it's freedom. So is freedom something that you want? And let's start to look at how you can experience more freedom in your life then.
Yeah.
And then you will start to, look at different ways that abundance, financial abundance can
Yeah.
flow into your life. So I always, and TikTok has become very, I watch a lot of TikTok content, and it's kind of like, don't know, I just think a lot of people lie, and it's like, I've manifested this, I've manifested that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that might be true, but are you creating this fake social media life that
Yeah.
looks good on the outside, but actually when you put that phone down you just feel crap inside because
Yeah.
you're not actually doing that inner work that's needed to create a life that you truly
Yeah.
love?
Yeah. Yeah. I so agree with you. I think I would have been triggered as well if it's not something I believed in and people just show up and they're like, oh, I've just manifested this huge mansion and this huge career. And I would have been like, really good for you. Like, but because I guess it's something I've learned from a young age without knowing I was co-creating. And I'm thinking about my dance career, how everything came up, my passion for it, how I've always visualized myself on stage and how that showed up. But I worked so freaking hard for it. As in, not jobs. I remember when I started working as a professional dancer, I felt like jobs were coming easy. I didn't have to hustle for it. It was aligned with me, but the work behind to perfect those skills as a professional dancer, I worked so hard. I worked so hard to become the dancer that I was. And I visualized, and then those jobs came in. So I believed in manifestation and co-creation from a very young age. I mean, young age, like in my 20s, let's say. So, but yeah, I could get that. But I agree
It's
with
the
you. I think
action that you've taken, it's the work that you've put in, and you
100%.
said something there which is so true. It's like, yes, I absolutely put the work in, and when I was aligned, when that alignment hit, that's when the job started to come in.
Yeah,
It felt more in flow, it felt like with more ease.
exactly. It's exactly that. Um, so for someone listening to us right now and is thinking, because this episode I want to share at the beginning of the year, he's thinking, okay, cool. I'm listening to these ladies and they're all about these things. Let me give it a try. What would be 3 tips or like 2 tips or 5 tips or whatever you would want to give them? Okay, I'm a beginner and I want to start co-creating a life of joy, a life of abundance, a life of good health. What do you think they should start with? Like, what's the first thing, you know?
Yeah, the first thing that I would recommend to anybody is to get really specific about the life that you want, because we can often get swayed by social media and what everybody else is doing. And when we sit down and think about, okay, how do you want every day to look? How do you want to feel on a morning? What do you want to go to bed like feeling? How do you want your life to look, not just on social media, like I say, but to just, if you couldn't share anything with anyone else, I always say that, if you couldn't share it online, how would you want your life to look and
Yeah,
feel like? And
yeah.
really just sit down and start to ask yourself like little journal prompts. And I share so many journal prompts on Instagram, so if anybody wanted to have a look, and I've got loads of free ones on my freebie resource as well.
I will
So
put all your details in the show notes and in the
perfect.
YouTube description box as well.
Yeah, what I'll do, my love, if you want, is I will let everybody I have a book of 30 journal prompts to help you clarify what you want your life to look like. So I'll give that to you, and
Yes,
you can give that to
thank
everybody.
you.
But to really sit down and to work out how you want your life to look. And once you have that, you could create a vision board. It's such a beautiful thing to do at the start of the
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
and to really look on Pinterest or, look in magazines and just create this vision board that just even if the pictures don't make sense, as long as it evokes that energy from you where you think, actually, I want a life. You know, on my vision board, it was always, I wanted a life that was so freedom was just weaved throughout, and it was like I didn't want to wake up with an alarm. I wanted to be able to pick up my laptop and travel wherever in the world. And those images were like, I had an image of a girl on a rooftop in New York, and I knew that when I saw that, it was that freedom element and that energy. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is what's possible for me. And
How
I'll
it
always
made you
say to
feel.
people, it's how you feel.
Yeah.
And rather than waking up on a morning and scrolling on your phone and seeing what everybody else's life and what everybody else is doing, I will say to clients, how about it just sitting in front of your vision board and looking at what you want from your life and what's
So
possible for you?
good. Yeah.
And your morning routine is so important, because that is when you're starting your day in the best possible way. And it might not be, I used to have a very strict morning routine, and as I got older, I was like, this doesn't work for me anymore. I don't like kind of the feeling of you must do this to do this to do this, and you're just ticking things off a list there, and it feels very kind of unnatural to me now. So I have more of a pick and mix kind of routine now, where I'll wake up, and if I feel like journaling, I'll journal. If I feel like doing some EFT tapping, I'll do that. If I feel like meditation, I'll do that. I really lead by the energy of when I wake up. But every time I wake up, every day I wake up, it's with intention. So I wake up very intentionally that, okay, today is a new day. Yesterday might not have gone the way that I planned, but I've still got a fresh slate to start again today. And I'm very intentional in that thought process. And then once you've kind of got that vision, let's look at what action we can take. Let's start listening to our intuition. Let's start kind of putting the feelers out there. For example, if you think to yourself, 2023 is the year that I change jobs, or it's the year that I move house. Let's start taking some aligned action there. Let's start signing up to local estate agents, or go visiting different areas and have a coffee there and see how you feel the vibe, different neighborhood. Let's get on LinkedIn and start looking. And what you'll start to notice is when you are practicing this element of manifestation and visualizing what you actually want in your mind, what happens is there's something called value tagging, and you've got this thing called reticular activating system. You've probably spoken about that before on the show, but what happens is that your mind filters out anything that isn't needed when you start looking at your goals. So you start to notice, and this is why I often blend kind of science in with spirituality and strategy, because there's real science in the fact that when we focus on our goals and we've got this RAS system, that we start to notice people and places and hear conversations that might help. And it's like, okay, I'm on a good track now. And you start to attract things into your life.
So amazing. So like, I'm just so passionate about that. I'm listening to you and I'm like, I need to take notes myself and go back to this. But it's funny because when you gave the example of the flat or the house, you want a new house, we moved right before I gave birth, like the month before, which is crazy. Nobody does that. But we moved house because the old house I was in, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the energy. Just, there was something. And I'm so good at listening to my energy. And I was like, this is going to cost money. It's going to be annoying. You're pregnant, like 8 months, but let's do it. And the kind of place I wanted to live in a flat, not a house. I was like, I'm not going up and down the stairs with a newborn doing all that jazz. I'm not interested. I actually don't care about living in a house. I'm happy in a beautiful flat. The kind of flat I wanted to live in, everybody was like, there is not a lot of flats like that around where I live in London. It's a lot of money. Like, nothing was looking good on paper. We had to break the contract on the other side and do all these things. I was like, listen, we're going to manifest this thing. We're moving. I'm pregnant. Everything is looking negative. This is going to work. And you know what? It worked. I sat my ass down. I pictured exactly how I wanted the flat. And besides having a carpet, I don't like having carpets. Everything I wanted is exactly what I have. I swear. Like the carpet, of course, I had to paint as well. A couple of bits. Like I was like, no, but I could compromise on them. But I literally sat every day and I thought, I know that flat is somewhere is waiting for me. And I know I only have 6 weeks and I know I'm pregnant. I will get in that flat before. And all I would scroll through is beautiful flats, and I just really went into it. And it's just, yeah, for me, it's just little things like that are actually quite big, or a reminder that you can co-create. It doesn't always perfectly work out as you want it, but you can co-create what you want. So I'm gonna recap the advice you gave.
Mm-hmm.
So you said,
Get specific on how you want your life to look.
that's it.
Create that vision, and create a morning routine that helps you feel good when you wake up, and
Yeah,
do the things that make you feel good, rather than following, what you think of the blueprint of what a morning routine should be like, and take that action, aligned action towards that goal.
yeah.
Don't expect everything to kind of just be delivered on your doorstep. Let's meet the universe halfway.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Will all these little tips be in your book?
Yes, they
Yes.
certainly will.
I'm like, just in case someone is like, I need that written somewhere. I have pre-ordered mine. I can't wait for it to come out. Does it come out in January or?
1st of December, so a
Oh,
week
okay,
today, you'll
cool.
get it. Yeah.
So, okay, fab. So I'll get it in a week or
Yeah.
so. Amazing.
Yeah.
So everybody, again, I'll put the link of where to get it. I'm sure it's going to be an incredible book because it's going to be accessible. I think it's manifestation for beginners, even for someone like me who's been, I'm not going to say I'm a pro manifester, but I cultivate the co-creation, the working with a higher power, with knowing that what I want, I can create if I stay positive, if I believe in it, right? For someone who's been doing that work, I always go back to those tips because, as you said, you can get up one day and it's a shitty day or something has happened, like real life,
Yeah.
basically. And you just feel so down and there's
Yeah.
nothing. And it's about not letting that part of your life affect everything else or for a short period of time. And
Yeah.
it could be really serious. It could be grief. It could be disease. Like things happen. Life happens, right? And it's just having those tools to manage everything, to go through it. It's just so important. So I can't wait to have the book. And everybody, please go check it out. I know you're gonna love it.
Thank
um,
you.
I now wanted to talk a little bit about your health, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I know that because obviously I follow you, I stalk you. I know that you had quite a bit of a health journey this year. I don't know everything because you didn't share everything. So I want you to feel free to, if you don't want to go into details, you want to go into details, that's fine. But I just want to know, from what I understand, things happened health-wise and you had a bit of a realization and you sort of started looking after yourself. I don't want to say better, but being a bit more conscious of what you're putting in your body. And I just want to hear a little bit about that. And, because so many of us and so many of people in my community that will be listening to the podcast will have health challenges and will be, will love to
Yeah.
hear what you've done. What was the realization? What happened?
Absolutely. And I think I'm coming at this from a complete kind of novice as well. Like health wasn't, and it sounds really, now looking back, it sounds so silly to say health wasn't a concern to me, but it was that complacency that I had a working body. And
Mm,
up until June this year, and what had happened is I had what I thought was just a water infection. And I thought, okay, I've had these before, I can just, take the sachets that you get or do
yeah.
whatever. And it didn't go. And I was literally, I'm being quite open about this on my podcast as well. And somebody was like, why are you talking about this? And I was like, because if I don't talk about it, how are other people going to relate? And,
Right,
it's not something
exactly.
to be ashamed of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so anyway, I was probably going to the toilet literally for a week, maybe 30 times a day. And
Wow.
it was exhausting. And thank God I worked for myself at that point, because if I'd have worked in an
Yeah.
office, I can't even imagine going backwards and forwards. And I wasn't sleeping. And to get into the doctor was just an absolute, they took samples, we did bloods. I had so many blood tests to check for diabetes, to check for, obviously, water infection, everything that we had. And it's still kind of ongoing now. And the medication that the doctors had given me just didn't work. They were saying that it was overactive bladder, and it could have just come on super suddenly.
Mm,
And I thought, hang on, I feel like I'm at the almost like the mercy of what the doctors are saying here, but it's my body. I feel like I need to
yeah.
take some control here. So I discovered this guy, and I don't know how he's seen in your industry, but I discovered a guy called Medical Medium.
Yeah, I'll tell
And
you after.
yes. So I just started to read about this protocol celery juice, and
Yeah,
honestly, I'm a complete novice in anything to do with body and health.
yeah,
And like I mentioned before, I'm all or nothing. So I made this big drastic change overnight. And I started to obviously have celery juice every morning. And then I cut out gluten and sugar and dairy. And my body must have just been thinking, what
what the
the
hell?
where are the chicken nuggets? Like,
Yeah.
it was a complete, like, total change of lifestyle.
Yeah,
And somebody messaged me on Instagram. And what I found is, as soon as I mentioned anything about health on Instagram, I remember you messaged me and said, have you got loads of people messaging you giving you advice? And I was overwhelmed by people saying, you
yeah,
should do this and you should do that and do
yeah,
this. And somebody messaged me and she said, all I'm going to say is that I think you need to just surrender to the healing process.
yeah,
And because what you've done is gone from super busy lifestyle, doing all this. And she said, and then you're not healing. You've gone to super busy,
yeah,
kind of feeding your body and learning and doing this. And she said, I feel like you just need to surrender.
yeah,
And that message, I was like, that's what I need to do. I need to stop making all these huge, massive changes
yeah.
overnight, putting so much pressure on myself. And the one thing that I'm still not cured now, I don't know if I ever will be, but the one thing that I have taken, and it has just been life changing, is pumpkin seed oil.
Okay.
And I've taken that, and it has really subdued the kind of, if I was going to talk to, if I'll tell the whole of the community how many times I go to the toilet now, it's probably like 8 times a day. So you have that kind of, from being that exhausted, and I'm sleeping now, that was a major thing for me.
Yeah.
I went months without sleeping properly.
Oh, bless you.
So it was just, it's just something that I have tried to navigate a more natural approach. And,
Yeah.
I've seen, various different people. I've just done something called the Dutch test, because
Yeah.
the
Great test,
doctors,
babe. Incredible.
yeah. So
Really
I'm
good.
waiting for my results now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes
Well
back there,
done.
because my cycle has definitely been off. It's definitely
Yeah.
regular now, but it was off at the time. And the doctors, I mean, I don't want to bash the NHS at all, but the doctors that I saw anyway, let's just say it like that, were just kind of saying, you could be premenopausal. And I'm like, I was 37 at the time, I'm 38 now. And I'm like, can we not just dismiss something as,
Yeah. Yeah.
premenopausal? Can we not look at this closer?
Yeah.
So this is kind of where I'm still on the journey now, but this is where I'm at with
Yeah.
it.
And you're feeling better, but you feel
Yeah.
like much progress. It's very interesting because hearing your talk, I feel like, wait, I have a question for you. The pumpkin seed oil, was that your own idea or?
No, what I did is, in my usual kind of delving into all these forums and seeing what people had, and I like to see what real people are
Are
having and trying,
doing? Yeah.
rather than just something on a bottle that, someone's
Yeah.
advice. And
100%.
sometimes I don't even trust Instagram for that. I like to
Yeah.
go in these forums and see what people are saying. And over again, people were saying this combination of pumpkin oil and soy germ was a miracle worker. And people said it's
Amazing.
changed my life. And I was like, get me some of that.
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks, wow. Even if I just feel like this for the rest of my life and I continue to take pumpkin oil and soy germ,
You're happy.
I'll be happy. Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, first of all, that's your story is showing a lot of things that I always talk about on my podcast and, to my community is that healing is a journey.
Mhm.
There is absolutely no overnight business in this business. Like healing, when it comes to your health and to anything in life, it's a journey. You're going to learn certain things. Your body's going to get used to certain things, especially when you start. Like when I started healing my body, I was struggling with constipation, moody. Like I had so many things. I started so slow. I started with doing smoothies and then this and then that. And I started my health journey in 2008. We're in 2022, 23 when we're listening to this. Like it's been 15 years, and my health is not perfect. I feel good, but I have such strong habits. But that that's a journey that I've learned to surrender to, because like you, I was like, what? Constipation? What? Acne? What? I need this to be gone tomorrow because I've got a photo shoot. I'm a professional dancer. Let me be. I've got this. I've got that. I'm busy. Come on, let's go. And it was like, no, girl, no. You're going to sit your ass down, because this healing journey is not just a physical journey. It's a mental, it's an emotional journey. And there is such a link between for me, how my body is a reflection of what my soul, what's going on in my mind. And I often find also with my clients that I work with on a one-on-one for months in my coaching package, that when they come with some physical symptoms, gut issues, hormonal imbalance, when we dive deep into their life and what's happening in the environment, there's a lot going on there. They not realize. Even things like, I'm just tired, I'm just a bit stressed. No, girl. This is it. What is stressing you? What do you need to get off your chest? What's your relationship here? Is there something like it? There's just so much. It's like a 360. And hearing you say I had to surrender is that you have to surrender on all areas and just take it slow and agree that, okay, this oil is working now, and maybe in a couple of years, in a couple of months, it's going to be something else that you need to take to, or maybe it will all be better. But it's about trusting that journey and trusting your body, because your body is, you've got an able body. And obviously we make choices in life. I'm the first. Everybody knows that, listen to the podcast, I used to be a tequila, Haribo, club sandwich junkie, and I used to smoke as well, and that's fine. But we make choices that ruin our bodies, and then we want to overnight feel better. But it's not like that, is it? It's very much like, hang on a minute, just surrender. And that's what I'm hearing in your story. And then the other part is the doctor's part. And again, that's the other thing I talk about often. And I will never bash a doctor, and you're not either, because they save lives and they matter, and the NHS saves lives. And I think we're very fortunate, especially when I see in other countries, to have a free medical system. But what we forget is doctors are not here to heal you or to understand the root cause. Conventional medicine is like, it's just plaster. It's just here to save. Yeah, it's a plaster, or it save your lives. If you have a heart attack, that's where you go, because there's no healing in a heart attack. You need a doctor pronto, you need surgery, you need whatever you need. But with cases like something that happens and is chronic, it's a healing. And that's where you need the non-conventional medicine, understanding the root cause, okay, and take the time. And that root cause, finding why this is happening, could take a year, and going and doing your research, which is amazing, going on the forum, like reading. That's the real work. That's it, because nobody else can do that. Nobody will do that for you. Not even the most expensive nutritionist out there. They'll have the solution, but empowering yourself to go and research on the blog, on the thinking, buying the books and the medical medium, whether they're good or bad, or it's empowering yourself to, okay, I've got these issues, nobody can help me, let's go. I'm responsible for my health. And I find that really, really inspiring. So
that's the word, empowerment. It's the empowerment of taking control again. And that's how when I say I felt at mercy of other people's diagnosis, I was like, this is my body. The poor doctor is sitting there, and I ended up finding a really good GP who went back and forth with me. But at the end of the day, she doesn't know what's happening in my body. And with a 15-minute, consultation, I don't have the time to sit there and tell her about my inner thoughts and how my, so
she'll be like, totally, excuse me, I don't have time.
But I do. I mean, there's such correlation between thoughts and body. And I wondered at that time, I'd reached a point in my life, and I'll be super honest about that time. And I had a lot of negative feelings towards my body, and my body had changed over COVID, and I'd put weight on, and every time I was looking in the mirror, I felt a negative energy towards my reflection. And this happened around the same time, and I felt like, hang on, people might scoff at that, but maybe self-love is something that I need to honor as well, and start to look at how I'm treating my body, how I feel about my body, because it's still working, whether it's something that I'm living with, chronically. it's still working. I still get to, wake up and see and hear and touch and move. And
Yeah.
so that was kind of, and I really lent on those tools that I'd learned through manifestation, of that gratitude, of the
Yeah.
small things that I could be grateful for, like not working in an office and being able to
Yeah.
just sit in
Yeah.
my house. And if I didn't get sleep at night, I would be able to take a nap through the day, and all of these things
Yeah.
that I had to really lean on being grateful for.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because that's one of the questions I was gonna ask you a little later was, do you think we can, do you think we can co-create our health as well? Like you would manifest a career or you will co-create a career. Is it something from your angle? Me personally, I think so because while, let's say you have a autoimmune disease like a type 1 diabetes, there's no cure for that. It is what it
Yeah.
is. Do you know what I mean? But mind though, some people, if you dive deep into naturopathy, some people may have been able to reverse it, but it's really rare. But anyway, let's say you have something that it's irreversible, I personally believe that you can still work to co-create a life that like a body of good, like a strong body by really taking care of yourself. That doesn't mean you're perfect in any way. Is it something you believe in since having this experience, or do you feel like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I do, but the thing is, because I'm still on that journey myself, I
yeah,
always I'm super open with people. I'm like, whilst I believe that it's true, you look at the placebo effect, the nocebo effects, these that
yeah,
kind of how our thoughts can be linked to our cells. And the while I'm still on that journey myself, I always say to people, I'm still in the learning phase,
yeah, of
and I'm still
course.
experimenting, and I'm still
Yeah,
kind of honoring what comes up. And sometimes I lay in bed and think, I'm trying to visualize like my bladder healing. And,
yeah,
I feel like there's so much power in,
yeah,
even Reiki. I have energy healing, and we do a lot of, around the chakras and sacral chakra, and
yeah,
just kind of moving the energy around that. And sometimes I've left Reiki sessions feeling like there is no problem at all in my bladder, and
so
it's like, hang
powerful.
on, how does this even work? And I still
Yeah,
question a lot of things,
yeah,
but that's the surrender.
yeah,
It's the, I trust that these alternative holistic ways of healing are there for a reason, and I lean into everything.
yeah,
I'm really open into experimentation and to
yeah,
try different things. And
yeah.
yeah.
Well done. Something that really worked for me when I started having really poor gut health. So I have chronically had candida overgrowth in the gut,
Mhm.
which then can manifest like you can have like I can have like rashes and BV and thrush and acne and some weird autoimmune system and what really triggers me the most is antibiotics and drugs and things like that. Like if I have to take like ibuprofen, it's just my gut has been affected by it and it just triggers it. So it's a sensitive one. But I remember at some point where my gut was in a really, really bad state. So I'm talking about 6, 7 years ago. I would every morning during my workout meditation, I would take 2 minutes to just visualize a super healthier, energized me that was eating whatever I wanted, that wasn't restricted because of my gut. And eventually that day came. I can still easily get candida. So my gut
Yeah.
is not perfect by no means. I have to eat well, but I can eat anything I want without going crazy like I used to. Like my body will just go. So in that sense, I personally believe that we can work in creating a healthier version of us. We can visualize that, but it's not just you visualizing and then you go and then you just eat the tequila and the thinking that you used to do again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you then put the work into it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I think we can 100% visualize that. And it's something, sorry, that I loved doing and I still do sometimes. If I really, I'm like, okay, I can see myself waking up, being full of energy and just joyful and God, all my cells are healthy. And that's something I used to say. Even when I was pregnant, I used to visualize a really healthy and happy birth and healthy baby, seeing our cells dancing. And I just find it really powerful. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I wanted to share that.
Yeah, and it's that affirmation, it's those words that you
Yeah,
speak to yourself. And I've got healthy cells, and I'm healing every single day. I'm healing, and just that
yeah,
power behind that language.
yeah,
But I'd forgot to say, when I I tried a homeopath, and I was so kind of just open to anything. A friend had said,
Yeah.
look, I had a chronic I think it was bowel disease that she had, and she went to homeopath, and she said within one kind of microdose she was great. And I was like, right, okay. I couldn't believe the questions that she was asking me. It was the
Mm,
weirdest. It was kind of, she was saying, what kind of dreams do you have? And when you first, when you first had this water infection, how did you feel? And she went so deep. And I'm very good at explaining things. I'm very good at diving into energy and feeling. And
yeah.
so I think it worked. And it ended up where I was describing the feeling of being away as an elastic band and the texture. And it
I
was so
love that.
deep. And I was like, I love this.
Yeah, amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
And do you know what? And I would say that to you and to anybody listening, going through something chronic symptom that they're working on, do try all these things. Obviously, if you can afford it, you will eventually find something that works for you. I've tried homeopathy a few times. I don't know if my body responded as well to it.
Mm.
I personally respond really well to herbs. So I've seen herbalists before, to energy work. These are the things I respond to, but everybody, osteopath, Reiki, all that works like a charm for me. So keep trying those different things, and you don't have to try everything in a month. Like it takes years to find your thing basically, and you'll have this amazing health toolbox that you can tap into to help you heal when you have issues, when things are not going the way you want them to go
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. Homeopath, I don't know if it worked, but I was open to
Yeah.
experimentation, and I'm very much like you. Energy work works really well, kind of that route of things. Homeopath, I don't know if it did, but I was super
You
open and
tried.
surrender. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. And I think it's the best mindset to have. It's like, okay, I'm open to trying my health. And I say to everybody, your health is your wealth, is the foundation of your life. This is it. There's nothing above it. Like
yeah,
you can manifest anything you want and have this amazing, incredible life, partner, whatever it is that your dream, your freedom. If you're unhealthy, you can't enjoy this shit.
yeah.
So you've got to start there. You've got to start there, and you've got to invest in it. It's not necessarily financially, but the time, the research,
Time.
that extra glass of water, that extra handful of vegetables, whatever it is, that little extra thing will go a
Yeah.
long way. I think it's like building a health bank for yourself. And I think it'll go a long way. I have two last questions for you that I ask all my guests. I want to ask all my guests. The first one is, can you share with us 3 habits, 3 things you do often, daily, monthly, that really make you feel good in body, mind, and soul?
Yeah. First of all, journaling. It's like the thing that I do. It's like I love writing. Obviously, I've written a
Yeah.
book and everything, but I just love to sit down and write. I don't type. I feel like there's real intention when you actually handwrite on a
100%.
book, the
Yeah.
energy exchange that
Yeah,
you have
for
there.
sure.
So I will journal. I'll probably journal most days, to be honest, but I just start with a prompt. Like I'll say, like, how am I feeling today? What's coming up? What's in my body? And I just sit and free write. And I used to do morning pages that was like 3 pages every single morning. But again, that felt forced. So now I just sit with a blank page and see what comes up. Sometimes it might just be bullet
Amazing.
points. It
Yeah.
really is super intuitive. Meditation is absolutely one of those. But I do a
Yeah.
lot of I like kind of guided meditations. I use an app called Superhuman, which is
Okay.
by a woman called Mimi Bouchard. And they're very uplifting, kind of they really shift your energetic state. So
Yeah.
that makes me feel really good in the morning. And do you know what I've started to do is breath work. And I was so surprised by
I love it.
the way that my
Insane.
body contorted. It was the weirdest thing. My face
Insane.
was and I cry, and
Oh my God,
it's the
insane.
best release. And I
Such a
just
good
try,
release. Yeah.
yeah, when you're trying to say to people it's just breathing, but it's obviously the way you breathe, and
Yeah.
the how you get through that, and you reach that peak of you think can't do this anymore, and then wow, it's just the most amazing
Yeah.
feeling.
The tingling, the inner, you feel the ting. Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I haven't done it for ages. As a new mom, I'm a little bit tight on time, but breath work, oh my God. Yes, I love all these things. So journaling, meditation, and breath work. Incredible. Really good. Last but not least, is there something in your health that you used to take for granted, or perhaps it's your health, that you're now really grateful for?
Oh, this whole kind of, yeah, I'd say this whole last 6 months, 7 months that I've gone through, it's just this feeling of not having to go to the toilet every day. Let's just say that. I mean
Yeah.
it all the time, but
Yeah.
just that feeling of taking control of my body again and connecting mind to body. I
Yeah.
think for the last couple of years, I have kept, and it sounds weird when I say this, but I've almost kept mind disconnected from the body. It's like the body
Yeah.
wasn't mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it really has, this last 6 months has really allowed me to connect both and live as whole,
Yeah.
instead of just a body that I felt like I took my body for granted and it was just a container
Yeah.
living a human experience. And now
Yeah.
it's like, no, this is the vessel, this is what I
Yeah.
need to look after, like you do your car. Take me
Yeah.
for an MOT, please.
Yeah. This is your home.
Yeah,
That is your home.
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Like, it's not always easy to share our health journey. But I really truly believe that we learn so much from each other experience. Like, I've learned so much from listening to people going through their struggles and how they overcome their challenges, what they did. Like, someone might listen to this and be like, oh my God, the pumpkin seed oil. Oh my God, maybe I'm not looking at myself in the mirror and loving myself, like, and it's affecting something. So I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you shared. And thank you for being on the podcast. Now, where can we find you? Anybody listening wants to find you, like your membership. Your membership is incredible. I just want to add that. And this is not like a forced plug-in or whatever, because I've been in the membership myself. And that's how I got to know you. And I was like, she's got to be in my podcast. But I loved it because I felt safe, number one. It was affordable, number two. And I felt like I wasn't, because I'm in another group, which is not a membership. Well, I can say it. I did the Dennis Duffield Thomas
Yes, money boot camp.
money boot camp. So I'm in that group. And sometimes it can be overwhelming when you have people coming in
You're in
with,
that group. Yeah.
they come in big, you know what they come in with, like the money, like they come in big and you're like, oh God, good for you. But wow. And I just felt like in your group, I felt kind of safe. I felt like people also share their struggles and their win, and it just felt a bit more intimate as well. So I would definitely say, for anybody that feels like they would love to, maybe you feel like things are not going the way you want and you want to manifest just more joy, even just more
Yes.
joy, more abundance, and better health. I definitely recommend checking Victoria's membership. It's a great membership. It's on Facebook and you get all these incredible workshops. I think the workshops are weekly, I can't remember, or monthly.
Yeah, we have loads of different workshops.
Yeah,
Last night we had like a new moon circle where we journaled
love.
together and just, yeah, there's
Yeah.
lots of different things going on.
Amazing. I'm gonna come back into it. So my whole thing was like, you know what? Once my daughter is 6 months, I feel like I'll have a bit more mental space.
Yeah.
I already have a
Yeah.
bit more mental space. She's 3 months now, and I can just refocus on myself, and things like that will definitely help. So yeah, everybody do check out the membership. The book is out now. Please check it out as well. Everything will be linked below. And then what's your Instagram handle again?
Yeah, so wherever you type in the Manifestation Collective, whether
Okay.
it be website, Instagram, Facebook, anything, it will all come up as that. The podcast, the Manifestation Collective.
Amazing. Oh, Victoria, thank you
Thank you
so
so much for having
much.
me.
Of course, I'm so grateful. And I'll speak to you soon.